Services rendered. A deduction shall not be made from the wages of an employed person unless the house accommodation, amenity, or service supplied has been accepted by him as a term of employment or otherwise. Such a deduction must not exceed the value of accommodation, amenity, or service supplied. The provincial government may impose certain conditions in this respect. Advances and overpayment of wages. The deductions can be made for recovery of advances or adjustment of the overpayment of wages. The deduction of any advance given before the employment must be made from the first payment of the wage in respect of the complete wage period, but an advance for travelling expenses cannot be deducted. Similarly, recovery of advances of wages not already earned shall be subject to any rules made by the provincial government. Cooperative societies and insurance schemes. The deductions may be made for the payment to the cooperative societies approved by the provincial government or to a scheme of insurance maintained by Pakistan Post Office. Income tax. An employer is permitted to deduct income tax payable by an employed person. Orders of court. Any deduction must be made if it is directed by the court, for example, in execution of a decree against the employed person. Provident fund. The deductions may be made for the contributions payable by the employed person to the Provident Fund under the Provident Funds Act 1925. Written authorization. The deductions can be made with written authorization of the employed person in furtherance of any war savings schemes approved by provincial government for the purchase of securities of the government of Pakistan or the government of UK. Welcome back to the series of tutorials as we go to the next topic, and that's what we call workmen's compensation. The law relating to the workmen's compensation is contained in the Workmen's Compensation Act 1923. After the 18th constitutional amendment, this law has been adopted by the provinces. It consists of 35 sections and 4 schedules. Well, first of all, we need to go through the definitions. Minor. A person who has not attained the age of 15 years is a minor. Adult. A person who has attained the age of 15 years is an adult. Dependent. The dependent means any of the following relatives of a deceased workman. It can be a widow, minor legitimate son, unmarried legitimate daughter, or a widowed mother. If wholly or in part dependent on the earnings of the workman at the time of his death, widower, a parent other than widowed mother, minor illegitimate son, unmarried illegitimate daughter, or a daughter legitimate or illegitimate if married, and a minor or if widowed, and a minor brother, unmarried or widowed sister, widowed daughter in law, minor child of deceased son, a minor child of the deceased daughter, where no parent of the child is alive, or where no parent of workman is alive, a paternal grandparent. Well, these are the, in fact, the details of the dependents who legally qualify to receive the benefits. Employer. The employers are the persons who employ and could be a body of persons, whether incorporated or not incorporated. A managing agent of an employer, the, the legal representative of the deceased employer, a person to whom the services of the workman are temporarily lent or let out while the workman is working for him. Managing agent. The managing agent means any person appointed or acting as the representative of another person for the purpose of carrying on such other person's trade, business, but does not include any individual manner subordinate to an employer. Well, I've given you some of the very early details of the workman's compensation, but I've certainly not gone through the details right now. This is what I'll do in my videos for the next day. and we'll talk about the compensation, we'll talk about the whole compensation, we'll talk about the disabled man, partial disabled man, we'll talk about the heirs, we'll talk about many of the legal aspects of this topic, and we'll provide you all the details in our forthcoming videos.